Thanks for tuning in to the Mission Matters podcast, where we feature successful, mission-driven leaders committed to creating a positive change in the world. Our mission with this channel is to inspire other leaders by providing industry insights, new ideas, and inspiring stories from the pros.
All right, Paul Feith here, where I talk with leaders heading up mission-focused organizations, leading from the heart and making a difference in our communities. This episode is sponsored by Paul Gregory Media, certified B Corp in the Midwest. To learn more about Paul Gregory Media and B Corporations, visit paulgregorymedia.com. Very excited to have Suzanne Kinsey with us today. She is the Executive Director of Fox Valley Community Services. She has been in the healthcare industry for a few decades now. I'm not going to say how many, but even longer than that. The company that she represents, or the organization that she represents, has been in business for 51 years, if you can believe that. So welcome, Suzanne. Thanks for being on here.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here and share what information I can.
Yeah, well, that's great. I know we're going to talk about a few things today, but I'd like to, because this is a leadership series, I'd always like to dive in just with some leadership wisdom, I guess we can call it. And we were talking earlier about one of the things that you believe good leaders either possess or have or take advantage of. Why don't you share that with us? And why don't you share also with our listeners before that, even maybe a little bit about yourself?
Again, my name is Suzanne Kinsey. I have been blessed to be in social services in the healthcare industry for over 30 years. A fairly diverse background, but I have had the true pleasure of working with seniors for the last 20 years of my career. And I have learned so much from being in this industry, not only because I have the pleasure of working with the seniors and they can share a lot of information and have a lot of passion about their own lives, but it's also an industry that is much needed because statistically, senior population is growing leaps and bounds. Statistically, just to throw the number out there, in the next 10 years, we're going to be adding over 600,000 people over the age of 60. Just kind of puts that number out there of where we're growing, what the needs are going to be, and how important healthy aging is.
Great. You'd mentioned 600, was it 600,000?
600,000 additional people over the age of 60.
Wow, that is huge number. I am, let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about, you were talking, I guess, about from a leadership perspective, it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. I have been very lucky to be in an industry that allows me to surround myself with fantastic staff. One of the things that's really important to me in leadership is, do you want to be a leader or do you want to be the boss? There's lots of little sayings out there about that, but truly a leader is somebody who mentors the people around them, lets them do what they need to do, really excels at those skills, and then guides them for the bigger picture. I have been lucky enough to have individuals that have brought those skills to the table and really allowed us to grow. And I lost the camera.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with that more. And I think any leader would agree with that, right? I mean, surround yourself with the best people and be a mentor, certainly be a guide. But I think maybe the more autonomy they get, or given, the more they grow.
Absolutely. I have found that if you hold on to people too tight, they don't grow and then they leave. If you allow them the ability to grow within their position, share with them the skills that they need, and then you can happily send them to whatever new adventures that they might have. It's a positive on all sides, and that person will share with others their positive experience as opposed to feeling like they've been stuck in a job.
Indeed. So surrounding yourself with the best person or the best people for sure. Well,
Absolutely.
any successful organization, you're going to find that, right?
You would hope so. I truly think that the internal success of an organization comes from their people and the ability to keep growing together, setting a common goal, setting a scenario where one individual's success means everybody's success.
And no doubt what led to your success.
I have been very, very blessed to be with mentors, with other individuals and organizations that have allowed me to achieve goals, learn new skills, build on my repertoire, and then sometimes they've not so happily let me go, to the next venue. But for the most part, it's allowed me to take those skills and keep growing as a person.
Nice. Well, let's get into the nugget of this podcast, which is healthy aging. I think of healthy aging, especially at my age, and it's like, okay, it's something I think about every January and whatever. But you had mentioned something earlier about, when this process actually starts.
You know what? Don't we all? New Year's comes, we have those resolutions, we're all going to be healthy. But I advocate that no, healthy aging starts the day you're born. People don't look at it that way. People don't remember to think of it that way because when you're a kid, you're, eating your trick cereal and Pop Rocks and drinking soda and running around, and we don't perceive it the same way. But to be somebody who's actively in healthy lifestyle is healthy aging.
We can't really be effective leaders otherwise, I guess, if we don't have our health.
Absolutely. Because health is not just your physical well-being, it's your cognitive well-being, it's your social and interactive well-being, it's your mental health. All of those parts of your person really come together to make you who you are. There are certainly things that we can internally control. Obviously, getting a good night's sleep, eating healthy, exercising, maintaining a good lifestyle. If you're going to drink moderately, don't smoke, don't do those things that do affect you. However, there's things in the environment that we don't have control of. And of course, that's where the diversity comes in and the inequality, where you grow up, family supports, social interactions, violence, unfortunately, and even such things as the economy can affect how we are aging. That's absolutely something that we know has been in, as we know, on TV, in the medium. It's so certainly things that are in our policies and procedures, and our lawmakers are addressing these things. All these things come into play for healthy aging, healthy lifestyles, moving people into the future.
I'm curious. You mentioned the economy. How does that come into play?
Unfortunately, we all know that, and I'll use Illinois as an example. If you live on the North Shore, you probably have more significant access to good medical care, a good ER, good doctors. Perhaps your economic background is going to be a little bit more fluent than, say, somebody who lives on the south side of Chicago, where there might be food insecurity, lack of health care. Perhaps you're working two jobs, not getting the type of sleep that you should get. You can't afford the medications. All those different things certainly do come into play. These are the things that are in the media, and these are the things we should be advocating for when we're talking to our legislatures. How are we addressing these things? How are we helping to bring that gap smaller so that everybody's receiving services equally?
Sure. I know somebody who is trying to solve the problem of these food deserts in the city, and that I didn't know there was such a thing, in an urban area, but apparently there is.
It's unfortunately things that are addressed and then quickly shoved to the side because I believe me, I'm sitting on here and I don't have the answer. There aren't any easy answers. There are conversations that we all need to be having. There's things that need to be addressed. So there's the ability to get healthy foods. So those food insecurities, housing is a huge issue across the board. It's hard to stay healthy if you are living in hotel room that essentially has no heat and no adequate, if you're not showering or bathing adequately, or you're living at a homeless shelter. All these things do come into play when you're talking about healthy, adequate aging, getting people the lifestyle that they need to stay engaged.
Okay, and that certainly answers the economy question for sure, and where the disparity is in that. Does ageism play a part of this, or is that a different topic altogether?
You know what? Ageism does play a part in it. There's a significant time when, and it's interesting because we stereotype people. Ageism can be a stereotype, young and old. You can look at a 20-year-old and go, I'm not going to hire them because they don't have experience. They're running around. They're, being foolish. So it can happen when you're young, and when it happens when you're older, a lot of seniors aren't getting employed. They're losing their positions. It affects them then. If they have to live off of Social Security, those funds are limited. So then they end up losing their housing, or they can't afford affordable housing based on what their retirement funds are. So then that rolls into, well, how do they make a decision as to where they live? And then do they buy food, or do they buy medication, or can they socialize? Because now, do they have enough money to have their vehicle any longer? It becomes a system that quickly breaks down. So ageism does play a part. We look at a senior and we have a job, and they might have been employed for the last 30 years, but all of a sudden we wonder if they can do this job any longer or do the next job. Certainly when it comes to a position that has more technical, we all know that when you look at a senior, the first thing you don't think of typically is that they are a computer tech and they're going to be able to handle this. So we already stereotype that.
Yeah, I guess on the one hand, I would think we would appreciate the experience, but there is a factor, and maybe stereotyping is something we should steer clear from, because as you do age, you do tend to lose some skills, some fine motor skills. You tend to lose focus a little bit, but not everybody. So I think maybe there's where stereotype is hurting them, because there could be seniors that are doing very, quite well at that, and have embraced technology, and for the same reasons why you might dismiss a 20-year-old, and not rightly so. It really has to come down to an interview with the qualifications. Can they do the job, regardless
Absolutely.
of the age?
Absolutely, and I advocate for that. Nobody should ever be dismissed based on what they look like, what age they are, what their background is. Everybody has a unique set of abilities. Everybody has a unique set of skills to offer a position. What we need to do is make sure that we're reminding people to get through that process, to jump over that hoop, to don't just assume that the person that you're looking at has lost their skills or aren't as sharp as they used to be just because of the age that they're presenting it at that time. Sure.
I was telling you before we went on air, and I'm guilty of this because 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I did not, my perception of millennials, their work ethic was not up to par with my work ethic. And how dare I lump one person or two people into just a millennial bucket? And I've been schooled on that, and I have hired millennials who proved me wrong. And it went to my own bias, of course, and stereotyping. So I had that thought, and I'm ashamed of it, but I'm glad I grew from that as well. So and I could see how that would affect elderly people too, people who were judging them based on their age and saying, well, I don't know if they can do the job, without even talking to them and trying to understand what they can bring to as I start aging myself and I have my silver hair, you know, luckily I work for myself, and I say that, but I technically every client is my boss. So, um, I have no idea what they're thinking, but hopefully something positive. Any other nuggets from ageism that you could share with us in terms of good or bad or ugly?
Oh, ageism is such a large topic and it's becoming a more looked at topic. The World Health Organization is doing wonderful research and writing wonderful papers on it. I highly encourage people that if they're looking for any information, go to the World Health Organization's website. Great resources. Illinois is also doing some wonderful research. Illinois Aging Together, a great website to really focus on what we're doing here in Illinois, bringing people together. I think the biggest thing that we as individuals need to get past is, as you shared, the bias. It's not the Golden Girls world anymore with the stereotypes. People do have abilities, they have strengths, they have really, at this point, we have 5 generations of people in the workforce. We're continuing to grow that. And with the needs, this is something we need to focus on, making sure that people are still having a viable role in society. And that's what most seniors are looking for, is to be able to show that they are still viable, they're still they're still contributing, not only to their families, but to society and the economy.
Of course, they want to feel like they're contributing. Like everybody,
Absolutely.
everybody wants to fit in and have their place. Well, that is so interesting. I think I learned a few things today as well. Let's dive into your organization, community resources that Fox Valley provides.
We are located in Sandwich, Illinois. So for those of you that are not familiar with the little tiny town of Sandwich, we are in DeKalb County. Our organization, as you shared, has been here for over 50 years. We have a number of different levels of services that we can provide our seniors. We have an active senior center, which we service over 500 seniors that come here and not only do our travel trips, and they go phenomenal places like to the Rocky Mountains. They were just in Maine. They just came back from a day trip for a play. They have our activities here. So we do exercise programs, bingo. We have a writers club. We have a volunteer club that does Happy Cats for cancer patients, a plethora of things. But not only that, we have 2 adult day centers for our seniors that might need more assistance on a daily basis, those that are looking for a safe environment where they're socializing, they're receiving care. It allows their family members to have a little bit of a respite at home while the senior is here. And then for those that are a little bit more housebound, we have our in-home services where our homemakers go to their homes, can help them with activities of daily living, light housekeeping, getting the laundry done, getting them to doctor's appointments. So we really are so excited because we can have seniors from very active and social all the way to those seniors that need a great deal of assistance.
Wow. And I think about as my parents are aging, how we would love services like that. They're in New Jersey, and it's not as many resources that tend to be out here. So what a great service that you're providing to the community and to those that are, we're talking about aging, right? And people who are starting to need some assistance. So, and you have, your facility actually has an adult day center then.
We have one in-house. We have about 20 clients. And then we also have another location in the city of DeKalb proper. So we have the 2 locations. It's fantastic. There is such a need. It is such a valued program for those that are struggling as caregivers, as family caregivers. We're respectful of the caregiving process. That is a tremendous responsibility. Those people are loving and caring, but it's very high burnout. It's very stressful. And so this allows them to have their loved one in a facility, a program that is engaging, it's safe, they can be social and cared for in the appropriate way, because obviously we know what issues are going to be presented and how to address those.
Right. Right. Well, there's that thing of, caregiver burnout syndrome, especially with family members who usually can't see a way out of that until like a service like yours is realized. And I think people should be familiar with services like yours early on so that they're not trying to look for something in a stressed situation. You were talking before, they wait way too long before they ask for help, and they go into this sort of stress mode. And I think you guys are doing all the right things and getting the word out and building awareness of your services out there. And I know Sandwich, it's definitely outside of the Chicagoland area, but not that far, maybe 50 miles.
Right.
So still kind of like the Chicagoland area. But out there, and certainly in an area where I'm sure those services are just very much appreciated. So tell everybody, how do we find out more about Fox Valley Community Services?
If you would like to find out more specifically about our facility, Fox Valley Community Services, you're going to go to our website. Thank you, Paul, because we have a beautiful new website.
Indeed.
So you're going to go to www.fvoas.org.
Fox Valley
olderadultservices.org. We had to hold on to the old name.
Yeah. All right. The OAS stands for
Older Adult Services.
Over Adult Services. Okay. So that was the original name.
Yes. It's same with what our conversation is today. Our seniors said, you know what? We don't want to be older adults. We want this to be community. So about 5 years ago, we went from Fox Valley Older Adult Services to Fox Valley Community Services, because truly that allows us to be intergenerational. It allows us to bring families in, the community in, and then still serve all of our seniors. So it's been fantastic, and it really allows us to spread our services out.
Yeah, it's more all-encompassing, for sure.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you being on our podcast today. Suzanne, thank you so much for your time. Any parting thoughts for our listeners?
My parting thoughts are, especially at this time of year, we talked briefly at the beginning, it's December, it's the crazy time of year, lots of events because of the holidays. I would ask people to be cognizant of friends, neighbors, family members, those that are more isolated. Reach out, even if it's just a phone call, a card, just making sure that you're engaging those people. This is a hard time of year for a lot of people. And as we know, social isolation and being alone can really be very stressful. It can be very detrimental to people's well-being. So make that extra step, take that extra time, just reach out, say hi, safety, if there's a little bit of ice out, just kind of watch out for our neighbors and our other friends.
Yeah, those are some wise words. It's a difficult time of year for a lot of people. Well, thank you for that. Very much appreciate having you on. Till next time, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Mission Matters podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.